Hi everybody, my name is Bill Sanders and this is WatchArtSci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I'm going to do is what I had promised last week was to have the final 5 of the top 10 watches under $5,000. And it turned out that I tried to have the top 5. I ended up with really sort of the top 5 plus the very first one, which makes 6. But then I also combined Rolex and Tudor, so I ended up with 7. Now, all of these watches are watches that I think fit into the whole notion of high horology. All right, well, we're going to start with the first one that I want to start with, and I'm going in the order that I have from looking at the watch rankings. Now, believe me, there are problems with that ranking, as with all rankings, but people do use them, and they have some use. So we're gonna start off with that. Now, in the ranking, the Nomos is given 2 stars. Which I think is 1 star at least not enough, because this is a neat watch. Any watch that Philippe Dufour recommends is one you need to pay attention to, and you don't rank it with a bunch of other watches that are running on ETAs or something. The Nomos Glashütte has its own in-house movement, and believe me, this is a very good watch. This is a watch for high horology, and I think you might look at it as sort of a poor man's A Longa, but I don't know. I think it certainly has its own personality. So that's the first one for the top 5 of the ones we're going to be looking at. Okay, the next one is really 2. And so I put the Rolex company, and the Rolex company owns Rolex plus another brand called Tudor. There are so many Rolexes that are under $5,000, a lot of them. But I thought, well, given the way we have our way we wear wristwatches today, I would go with one that's at least 39 millimeters. There are a lot of them out there that are 34 and 36 millimeters, and maybe you like them that size. That's fine. But anyway, here's the Explorer 1 with a caliber 31-32. Today, most of the watches, I think all of the new ones have their own in-house movements, so that's not a big issue. Now, another watch that I've always liked, forever and ever, even before it got its own movement, is the Black Bay Heritage, and I like the red bezel. So that's me. Now, in looking at this watch, there's a very interesting thing. In 2013, it won a Grand Prix award for the best revival watch. Now, at that time, it was running on an ETA 2824-2, okay? And it's the best revival watch. It wasn't the highest of high horology. Now, what Tudor did after that makes it, in my book, it really, Tudor entering into high horology. And that was when they, in 2016, this year, they came out with the Black Bay Heritage with its own movement, with a caliber MT for movement Tudor 5602. All right, so now it's got its own movement. One of the more exasperating things, apparently, there are still some, or at least people advertise them as brand new Tudors, Black Bay Heritage, that have a 2016 They're make them at 2016, but they still have ETA movements. And well, I found out the difference isn't very hard to detect. The reference of 79230 is the new one, is one with the MT5602. The reference 922OR is the one that won the prize but had the ETA. Now you can't tell the difference, I don't think, at least I've been unable to, in looking at the watches themselves. If you look at the movement, boy, you can tell immediately the difference between the in-house Tudor movement and the ETA movement. My recommendation is be careful. Get the 9230. That's the one. I'm sorry, not 92, but 79230. That's the one that I would recommend. The other one, if you end up getting it, you're going to pay the same price, which is around right under $3,000. You can always tell people, well, this is the one that won the Grand Prix. Go off with your ETA machine, but get the in-house movement. That's my recommendation. Okay, the next watch that I'm going to recommend is the Cartier, and the Cartier is ranked relatively, I don't want to say low. It's a French one, and sometimes people forget there's big changes. Now the Ballon Bleu and the Calibre de Cartier for the men, the Ballon Bleu for the women, they do make them for men, and some guys like them. You can get those too, but generally the big thing is having what they call the Calibre de Cartier. Now you got to be careful because there's some of these have ETA movements, some of them have quartz movements. Cartier drives me crazy, but the references that I have here are 6920071 for the Ballon Bleu that has the Calibre de Cartier, and WSC A0003 for the watch that's called Calibre de Cartier. Now, in 2010, the watchmaker who had these, who really brought Cartier into, I think, high horology, won the Grand Prix for the best watchmaker, and she certainly deserved it. So it's no longer like, here's sort of a fashion watch or a jewelry watch. By the way, I have on my jewelry watch, my Ella. Okay, and so the Cartier I highly recommend. And I think there's the Ballon Bleu is especially popular with the women because the Duchess of Cambridge was photographed wearing it. Hers was, God knows, probably a quartz or something, but boy, is it popular. I was on a cruise last summer, and there was a gal with a Ballon Bleu on. I said, oh, that doesn't... And she immediately knows. Oh yeah, the Princess, the Duchess of Cambridge has one. She got all excited about it. Anyway, so Cartier, and again, they're under $5,000. So these, this is something you might want to consider. Okay, let's take a look now. This next one, the Ulysse Nardin, is one that I like. That's what I can say. It has its own built-in movement. It's won one of the Grand Prix. By the way, Cartier won 6 Grand Prix. So like I said, don't fluff it off as here's something that other than the tank, the original tank, that this thing is nothing but quartz and ETA movements. It's not. They have the Cartier has their own movement now. Okay, back to Ulysse Nardin. This one it was very hard to find one under $5,000, but I did find one. And this is condition 0. I didn't find this. None of these I found in a boutique. I think, except for the Nomos. Nomos is a very good deal, no matter where you get it. Okay, so the Ulysse Nardin, beautiful looking watch. Now, there's something else too that's sort of interesting. In one of the rankings they have, Cartier, Rolex are both rated 3 stars. Nomos is 2 stars. Ulysse Nardin is ranked with 4. Okay, so it's moving up there with the Holy Trinity crowd. Okay, now this next one, which you might think, well, this is the last one, but no such luck. Okay, here's one. I think it's a wonderful watch. I got my wife the Reverso. Oh, by the way, if you don't know the story behind the Reverso was set up because there was a polo player in India way back when who loved the Jaeger-LeCoultre watches and kept getting his banged up playing polo, and so they designed the Reverso so he could, when he played polo, he could have the watch and he could flip it over. So so it's really a polo watch rather than anything else. It's a cool watch. You can find those under $5,000. Now, the one I recommended was called the Reverso Grand or the Reverso GT. And another one that, because everyone knows the Reverso is Jaeger-LeCoultre, another great one, though, is a Master Control. This is a really nice watch. Now, it's very clean, plain. It's sort of like a Patek Philippe Calatrava, or the Vacheron Constantin Traditionnel. These watches are, they're just really good, high quality watches. Now, all of the ones that I've shown have been stainless steel. You add gold to it and they go up in price. That I know from wearing a virtual gold mine. Okay, the caliber to the one that I'm showing here is the 899-1/1 is for the Master Control. These are a couple under $5,000 watches that are top notch. By the way, too, this is ranked 4 stars. Okay, for the final watch that I think is the very best watch you can get for under $5,000 is the Harboring II Felix. This has their own in-house movement. It is about as close as you can get to a handmade watch. The designer Richard Harboring works on these things himself, just like the Philippe Dufour. You can get those for between $100,000 and $1 million, or some of the others we talked about when we talked about the Grand Masters. But this watch is incredible. It keeps perfect time. Here's mine. It's always right. It's incredible, and you can see the movement. They're very proud of the movement on this. And it's a very clean. It doesn't have a lot of the Geneva waves, or it doesn't have the perlage. But those were developed before they had good seals on the watch, and then they became sort of a decorative thing for the inside. This watch is a honey of a watch. I got mine. There were only a couple here in the United States. There's another one who in Brisbane, Australia, who I know about, who you can get them from, but you can get them. The guy I got mine from is a great guy named Martin Pulley. I just talked to him, checked on the price, and he says, yeah, they have some. But it's like getting one of the by one of the grandmasters. Now, Richard Harbring is not recognized yet as a grandmaster, but I wouldn't be surprised if down the line someone says, "Oh my God, how did you get that Harbring too?" I love it. It's a good watch. It's this is one of the only watches I know that I couldn't negotiate on a price, but it was so reasonable I didn't have to. Anyway, if you have right around 5,000, just a little under 5,000, you're looking for a truly high horology watch. This is one I would rank 5 stars and a bunch of hearts next to it. I would get this one. Okay, that's all for today, where you've gotten a number of collections to review, so we're going to be doing that. And I always love to hear from you. You'd like to hear your comments. What'd you leave this watch out for? Or what'd you put that one in for? Please go ahead. And with us, this is an invitation to subscribe. I don't want to beg you to subscribe, but it's an invitation. If you're not a subscriber, join our merry band. Okay, that's all for now. See you next Friday. Bill Sanders for WatchArtSci.